as being primary causes and secondary causes. In the primary causes, what I consider primary are those that have these are stimuli that are altering the body and making the body insulin resistant that have been validated in human studies. And these three primary causes, each independent of the other. So these are independent causes. One is stress, the increase of the stress hormones, cortisol and epinephrine. Those will create insulin resistance in the body. And of course, we have a lot of that nowadays, right? Two, inflammation. That one's a little vague. People like to blame inflammation for a lot of things nowadays without it being entirely justified. So that's a bit of a vague one, but nevertheless, if there is inflammation or increased immune proteins in the blood, that will promote insulin resistance. And then third, chronically elevated insulin itself will promote insulin resistance in the body. That's the one that I usually focus on the most, and I certainly do in my book, as you'd know, because that's the one you can change so readily. It's hard to change stress. It's hard to change inflammation. It's very easy to change insulin. And then the secondary cause is refined seed oils. Refined seed oils will accumulate in cells throughout the body, including fat cells, and change the way fat cells grow, making the fat cells more insulin resistant, and then we have the insulin resistance starting and then moving through the body.
Well, I definitely want to take some time further in our conversation to talk about what we can do about this and the positive changes we can make with diet and lifestyle. But first, let's dive into why this is an issue. Somebody's facing insulin resistance. Why do they care?
Yeah. Yes. So there's kind of two parts to your question then. Why is it an issue? And then why do they care? It is an issue partly from what I just mentioned, where we have put ourselves in the perfectly wrong environment, this perfect storm, where we are underslept, which is increasing our stress hormones, and we are eating foods that are increasing our insulin all the time. So that's kind of why we got here. But why someone should care about it is a function of the diseases that are derivative from insulin resistance. And these are not inconsequential. In fact, pretty much every disease that everyone listening is worried about, it's probably either directly caused by insulin resistance or exacerbated by insulin resistance. And this covers the whole gamut of problems, including neurological disorders like migraine disease and Alzheimer's disease. Heart disease, which is the most common killer, is overwhelmingly very often a result of insulin resistance and affecting the blood vessels. Speaking of blood vessels, erectile dysfunction is a consequence of at least partly of insulin resistance. The most common infertility in women, polycystic ovary syndrome, is a consequence of insulin resistance as well. And then fatty liver disease and osteoarthritis and more and more and more. So insulin resistance pretty much will make every disorder worse or cause the disorder if it